Police Commissioner Holger recalls a case involving husband and wife, Christian and Leonora. He shares that Christian waited in the dark to commit the crime. While Leonora is jogging, Christian hits her with a car. Leonora lays lifeless on the ground, and Christian sheds a tear. Holger shares with his daughter that love should come with a written warning. He blames himself for not being able to solve the case. Holger resumes the tale. Christian receives a text at 3:55 a.m., causing Leonora to become jealous and accuse him of cheating. She asks to see his phone, but Christian doesn't comply. He assures Leonora it's just Peter, and they are only talking about a girl Peter is seeing. Still, Leonora wants to see the phone and gets into a tug-of-war with Christian. To stop her, Christian throws the phone against the wall. Holger shares that Christian and Peter founded a successful construction company. Meanwhile, Leonora was a successful musician but had to set aside her career when their son, Johan, became seriously ill. Eventually, Johan recovers. The next day, Leonora apologizes for last night's incident. Still, she's doubtful about the situation and offers to take the phone to a repair store. However, Christian asserts Leonora should throw out the phone. She complies and leaves to take Johan to school. In the car, Johan asks if they can pick up Martha. Leonora smiles and takes the two to school. Christian arrives at the construction site and looks for Xenia. Peter tells him that the IRS asked to see their accounts. However, Christian is unbothered. He meets with Xenia inside the building, and they make out. Xenia asks if he read her ultimatum to choose her or Leonora. However, Christian insists it's not the right timing yet. As Xenia walks out, he pushes her against a wall and touches her, but she comes to her senses and leaves Christian. Leonora goes to a car wash and argues with the clerk. Later, Leonora scours through Christian's Facebook profile while she talks with a maintenance specialist. She sees Xenia's pictures at the worksite with Christian, and suddenly, all the alarms in her head are blaring. Christian arrives while Leonora dresses up for tonight's event. She tries to seduce him, but he completely rejects her. They arrive at the party. Christian makes a speech and acknowledges Xenia's achievements that help their business. Meanwhile, Leonora feels like chopped liver. Later, Leonora wanders alone at the party. She follows Xenia up the stairs. As she peeks through the office, she sees Christian making love to Xenia. Xenia looks up at her and smiles. On the way home, Leonora is on the verge of tears in the car. The following day, Christian and Kim are making a bonfire by the lake. Christian inquires how Kim brought up the divorce to his wife. Kim suggests telling the truth. Christian comes home and talks with Leonora about taking time out of their relationship. Leonora confronts him about Xenia, and they get into an argument. She asserts that she gave up her career so someone could nurse Johan. Additionally, Leonora can get pinned as an accomplice for the fraud the two did in the past to acquire enough money for Johan. To solve this, Leonora asserts she can go to the police and report him so they can absolve her of the crime. Christian is left powerless as Leonora walks out. The following day, Christian talks with Peter about paying back the money they made through the fraud. Peter senses the desperation in Christian and inquires about his situation. However, Christian doesn't say anything. Peter asserts they are going to keep their mouths shut. Suddenly, Xenia calls for Christian from afar. As he comes over, Xenia asks about their standing. Christian tells her that it's the two of them now. Xenia is overjoyed and asks him to meet her mother. Although hesitant, Christian complies. Meanwhile, Leonora stares at Christian and Kim by the lakeside. Christian seems distracted, so Kim gives him advice. He suggests that Christian should find a friend for Leonora, someone that'll comfort her when Christian finally leaves. Leonora cries alone in the bedroom as she looks at their wedding photographs. Something switches in her mind. Holger recalls that Leonora followed Christian as he tried to find Cassandra, Leonora's old friend. Christian meets with Cassandra and learns that Leonora pushed an old boyfriend named Mike off a cliff after discovering he cheated on her. Cassandra suggests that Christian should find leverage. Christian asks for the name of Mike's side girl. Christian talks to Sonja on the phone. She recalls leaving a party with Mike so they could make love in the forest. Sonja recalls having the feeling that someone was watching them. While Christian is busy talking to Sonja, Leonora suddenly watches him from the bushes. However, as he looks around, he doesn't see anyone. Sonja asserts she saw Leonora and told the police everything about it. Holger recalls reading all the reports about Mike's death. Leonora got questioned, but she had an airtight alibi. Meanwhile, Christian meets with Senia's mother. Leonora watches from afar. At home, Christian talks with Leonora about Mike. Leonora becomes angry and threatens to end his relationship with Senia if he doesn't want to get reported. Christian puts his phone on the loudspeaker but can't break up with Senia. Leonora becomes violent and throws him out. She claims ownership over the house, Johann, and his Mercedes. Holger claims Christian's animalistic instincts kicked in, pushing him to plan the crime. Christian leaves the car and uses a van. He waits in the dark and hits a woman that looks like Leonora from behind. However, she's still alive, so he backs up and mangles her head. Christian tearfully goes back to the office to let the cleaners see him. He goes home. Johann notices his dad is in a daze, so Christian takes a shower. Leonora comes up behind him as he drinks whiskey and asks if he has changed his plans. Christian is shocked as he realizes that Leonora has changed her jogging route. Christian realizes the gravity of his mistake. In bed, Christian claims he broke up with Senia. Leonora initiates copulation to confirm this. However, Christian isn't up for it and asks to hold Leonora instead. The following day, Christian prepares to take Johann to school. Leonora gives him back the keys to the Mercedes. Suddenly, Kim arrives and informs them that a jogger got run over last night. Christian hurriedly leaves. Leonora goes to the crime scene and sees Holger. The two didn't talk, not until Johann's graduation party. Leonora opens the door for the two police officers. They question Christian's whereabouts that night, but he says he didn't see anyone or hear anything. Pierre arrives to meet with Johann. The police officers leave, and Leonora walks them out. Christian's phone vibrates, and it's Xenia asking why he's not answering her. Leonora notices that Christian looks dazed, so he tells her that he couldn't tell the police it was the night he ended things with Xenia. He tells Leonora that he doesn't want the police to question Xenia. However, Leonora recalls Christian only called her from the car. Johann and Martha interrupt their conversation. Later, Christian revisits the road and sees flowers where the woman died. She was a mother of 3. Christian feels guilty about this. He goes to the police station and tries to turn himself in, but the policeman asks him to sit down because he's busy. Suddenly, Johann texts him, thanking him for the party. Christian hears the news about the crime. The authorities think the perpetrator fled the country because of the Romanian plate of the white van. Christian has a change of heart, gets up, and leaves. Meanwhile, Leonora suspects Christian for some reason. She learns that Christian previously used the card she bought from the car wash on the same night the woman got terminated. She confronted Christian about this and showed him surveillance footage of him leaving the white van. Suddenly, Martha and Johann interrupt them. Christian shoos them away, and Leonora frantically calls the police. Christian steals the phone and tells them that he saw someone that night. Meanwhile, Leonora runs away. He tries to stop her, but she's understandably appalled by what he did. Leonora drives away, leaving behind a frustrated Christian. Holger and another cop arrive at the door. Christian hugs Johann and asks him to wait in his room. The police officers question Christian about the foreign plate he mentioned earlier in the call. Thinking they would arrest him, Christian comes up with a story about seeing a Romanian plate. Suddenly, he gets a text from Leonora wanting to meet with him at 9 p.m. Holger recalls this and notices that Christian was practically glowing with guilt. However, he needed evidence to prove his hunch. Christian arrives at the restaurant and sees Leonora waiting for him. Leonora tells him he deserves to be in jail. However, he is, first and foremost, Johann's father, so she decides not to let Christian go to jail. However, Leonora orders Christian to terminate Xenia. Leonora asserts that the two of them could be accomplices. However, Christian vehemently disagrees with her proposition. Leonora smugly recalls the moment she caught Mike cheating on her. She shares how she pushed Mike off the cliff. Young Leonora returned to the rehearsal room just as the record player ended. The teacher checked in on her just as she settled down. That was the reason why her alibi for Mike's termination was airtight. Later, the couple selects a weekend and rents a spa in a nearby town. While they are at the hotel, Christian sneaks through the window, with nobody in the hotel knowing he has left the place. Christian goes to Xenia's cabin, so Leonora pretends Christian is still with her. She even uses a voice recorder for the server to hear so that Christian has a solid alibi when the time for questioning comes. At Xenia's cabin, Christian apologizes for not contacting her for a while. However, she doesn't want anything to do with him anymore. Christian breaks the glass and opens the door. He covers Xenia's mouth and tells her that he loves her. A neighbor hears the commotion, but Xenia shoos him away. The couple planned that Leonora would send a message to Xenia's phone from Christian's number, indicating that Christian wanted to end the affair. However, just as Leonora sends the message, Christian distracts Xenia from her phone and makes love to her. Even though he is supposed to kill her, Christian spends time with Xenia in bed for hours instead. Xenia gets up to go to the bathroom. She hears a rattling and notices that the window's open. She sees Leonora, who stabs her from behind. Christian hears a dull thud and inspects Xenia. As he opens the bathroom door, however, he sees Leonora with a bloody knife and Xenia on the floor, lying on a pool of her blood. Christian is shocked. He hugs Xenia's lifeless body. Later, Leonora jogs while Christian grieves the death of his mistress. Authorities arrived at Xenia's house because the neighbors reported a robbery. Holger recalls that the entire house was suspiciously clean of all fingerprints and DNA. Additionally, Xenia's computer, wallet, and cell phone were gone. However, Holger gained a warrant and could access Xenia's last messages. Holger explains that the message was from Christian, ending the affair with Xenia. The police arrive at Christian's house. They question the two accomplices about Xenia, who's now gone missing. Christian asserts he doesn't know anything and only shares that he broke up with her. Leonora adds that they've both had affairs because their marriage was rocky. The police ask for their whereabouts, but Leonora asserts they were in a spa the night Xenia disappeared. The airtight alibis leave the police officers with nothing, so they leave. Holger is convinced that Xenia is no longer alive. He suspects that Christian has just made love to Xenia, and that's why her body is gone. He orders the other policemen to comb through the woods and the coast. The search team doesn't know what the two did with the body. However, Christian looks concerned at the bonfire over the lake. Although Kim doesn't want to light the bonfire, Christian does it anyway. He's anxious that somebody might find out about the body. Christian takes Kim on a boat, and they rush to the bonfire in the middle of the lake. Suddenly, dogs with a search team arrive at the other side. Holger looks at Christian as the dogs bark loudly at the bonfire. Holger becomes more suspicious, but Christian manages to light up the bonfire. The dogs stop barking, and the other policemen tell Holger that this is a false trail. Christian nervously goes back with Kim. He notices he's a visitor using binoculars, so he intervenes and asks if he can use them. He sees Xenia's face in the flames as he peers through it. Christian is on the verge of tears, but Leonora comforts him. Holger's daughter asserts that the bones would remain intact even if burned. However, Holger argues that they took it somewhere. Christian throws Xenia's bones in the lake. Suddenly, a man arrives to fetch Holger's daughter for the wedding. Holger gets up and puts on a tie. He warns her about marrying her future enemy. Before they enter the church, Holger explains to his daughter that love is far more dangerous than its reputation. However, the daughter is ready for anything. The doors open, the organ plays, and the two enter the church. Meanwhile, Xenia's bones lay at the bottom of the lake.
Subscribe for more videos like this. Turn on notifications and leave a like. It really helps the channel.